Now we're all set here. Getting back from lunch, day 3. Speaking of food, actually, this guy coming up here, you all know him. Obviously, he's the face of the 21 convention. Dream, standing behind me, also known as Anthony Johnson. He's going to talk about a lot about some really great stuff that has to do with nutrition, exercise, and some things that will probably open your eyes. So I'm going to give it to him, the man in charge, the man of the hour. Give it up for Anthony.
Thanks, man. All right, guys. Back from lunch. Kind of goes with the theme of what we're going to talk about today, quite a bit. Right now, I'm going to talk to you guys about a new topic for the event, somewhat, at least for this year. It's going to be proper exercise and nutrition as per the title of my speech. The subtitle of that is Shattering Accepted Norms, Revealing the Truth About Health and Fitness. It's kind of long-winded, but I think as we go throughout, you're going to agree that that's exactly what this speech accomplishes or hopes to accomplish. Okay? So why are we discussing this? This event is not completely, but as you've seen, mostly centered around meeting women, right? Does anyone here disagree with that? That's like the central theme. It started out like that. There's probably no getting rid of it. It'll be around for some time to come, even if we continue to broaden the horizon a little bit. So we're discussing this for a couple reasons. One is I believe, as you guys have seen, we'll see in a couple of interviews soon, everything in life is related in terms of success. And you can go beyond that too, but in terms of success, including with women, it's all kind of interrelated and connected. You can't really disconnect them. So let's say with women, with this event, as I'm sure you guys have seen, or we'll see after the event, and if you apply what you've learned, you can uncover the truth about meeting women and dramatically improve your quality of life. So I'm a little hyped up. I think as you guys saw with Psych the other day, he specifically mentioned his transformation with that. He went from down here to up here in terms of success, and his life changed. I was similar with that. I worked hard from no success, and now I enjoy, I'm not up here, but I enjoy a pretty good level of success, and I worked for that. That's how it works out. So you uncover the truth because conventional wisdom just doesn't work out. Quality of life improves. The same can be said about exercise and nutrition. If you kind of unravel conventional wisdom surrounding those topics, your quality of life can also improve, just like meeting women. If your success with women improves from here to here, same thing happens with exercise and nutrition. Quality of life improves, same, okay? Or very similar. But more importantly, I think if you ignore one area of your life, or the question I'm asking here in the PowerPoint is it possible to ignore one area of life and truly succeed in another? I think in the short term, maybe. In the long term, hell no. It is not going to happen. You might be able to work it out on paper like that if you just kind of logicize it, but really, from my personal experience, what I've seen in the life of others with similar habits to what I have here, as I'm going to explain to you guys, it just doesn't work like that. You've got to kind of connect it all together, kind of like Christian and Nick or Christian Hudson specifically yesterday talked about. You can't just ignore one area of your life and then have success in other ones. It just doesn't work like that. Or as I said the other day, if you're just good with women, but your health is just like in the shitter, it's still like, so what, you go with women? Your health's on the line. You can get sick a lot, you have no energy, you can be overweight, overuse injuries as you age, like arthritis, osteoporosis, things you've heard about. That's not cool, man. So we're going to work to get around that. Also, quick point, succeeding in one complements another. As I said here, you will never get rejected because you are healthy, energetic, and too well-muscled. Drugs aside and like freakishly large bodybuilders. A girl is never going to come up to you, or say, let's say you go approach a girl, she's never going to be like, you know what, your six-pack's way too tight, piss off. Like, you have these awesome guns, like, just get out of here, I can't deal with it, like, you're just too awesome. It's not going to happen, you know? If it does, come talk to me. I'd like to meet this girl and straighten her out. Because you know what, that's ludicrous. It's not going to make you, but it's never going to hurt you, okay? So it's important for attracting women, too, as related to this event. Common lore. Conventional wisdom is 99% flat out wrong. Now I know that sounds at least a little polarizing, but I think at this event at least you guys can tell, like with meeting women in particular, conventional wisdom just sucks. I don't think you guys would be here if you were bought into conventional wisdom to work for you. Conventional wisdom for meeting women just does not work. We're here almost specifically because of that. Now I'm not going to say it's 100% wrong all the time. because sometimes it comes around. I think smoking is, which I got from Mark Sisson, a great blogger I follow. Smoking is kind of a conventional wisdom that picked up. Like a long time ago, it was considered to be like whatever. It didn't actually hurt you. And that was the conventional wisdom. Smoking cigarettes was fine, which now sounds ridiculous. Like, yeah, right, are you kidding? Some people still do it, to each his own, whatever. But everyone accepts that it just sucks for your health. It's not a matter of debate. But a long time ago, it wasn't. So eventually, smoking caught on. The conventional wisdom is now correct, at least in my opinion, and probably the opinion of like everyone you're ever going to meet in your life. Okay? Common lore also, and conventional wisdom, it permeates everything. As we've been talking about at this event, as I put in the PowerPoint, no kidding, dating relationships, massively. Same thing in business and finance. Conventional lore can sink businesses. They stay too attached to their old ways. Education. My little brother is 12 years old, and I went through Florida education system too. And I know as I've aged, it's progressively gotten worse. It's more and more standardized and more like just simple, like testing to the test, if that makes any sense, teaching to the test. And the education he's getting now at 12 years old in middle school, the same school I went to back in Cape Coral, it just sucks. It just permeates everything. And as we're talking about right now, obviously exercise and nutrition, and I think that'll make more sense in a minute if it doesn't yet. So I ask you, because some of what I'm going to say, a lot of what I'm going to say actually is going to challenge your conventional beliefs if you have them about exercise and nutrition. So I'm going to ask you to stay objective and rational during my speech. If you have an opinion about exercise and nutrition, I'm sure most of you do, that's cool. But just try to set it aside for a minute and just take what I'm saying rationally and just look at it with logic and the science I'm providing, or we'll reference throughout. So what is conventional exercise? I'm talking a lot about it. Well, let's define it for a quick minute here for speaking purposes. I think conventional exercise at the core is any sort of random physical activity. I mean, can anyone disagree? I mean, our current notion of exercise is anything you do that like gets you sweating. I mean, most people accept that. I don't think anyone here would disagree with that, or maybe one or two people would actually. And that is the farthest thing from the truth you could say, which is just interesting for most people to hear, but that is what I believe to be the truth. Physical activity is physically damaging by definition. It is always going to be damaging. It can be mildly now or severely now, possibly through trauma. Say you're doing sprints and you tripped and broke your knee. I actually have a bad knee from high school football. So it can definitely be damaging now. More often than not, it's not, but it can be. Running injuries are sky high. Over the years, though, that mild injury for many people can translate into long-term overuse injuries, as I've stated here. All kinds of arthritis, joint problems, even health problems, heart problems, if you do, say, like really excessive amounts of cardio, like ultramarathons, things of that nature, that you can have heart problems, or other things too. But that's okay. Like, I don't want you guys to shy away from doing running or things like that if you enjoy it. Just be aware of those consequences now and later, and be aware that you're going to be in the same body 20 years from now, 30 years from now, 40 years from now, when you pick your physical activity or form of exercise. It's important. And we're going to get to it more in a minute, but the point of exercise, or relating to damage, is the right amount of damage can be leveraged to allow for positive and protective adaptive responses by the body. So damage, it sounds really negative, like no. It's like a really bad word we kind of associate negative feelings to, but it's not entirely. Damage is cool. It's just if you do it too much and too often, for example, it can result in the things we just talked about, like arthritis down the road, things like that. So damage is not all bad. A lot of it, yes, but the right amount, like a dosage, as Doug McGuff talks about in a book called Body by Science, if you treat it as a dosage, like in medicine, it can be good, be very beneficial, critical for life. So wait a second, hold on. It's titled, I feel kind of cheesy saying that because it's up there. But I want to clarify before continuing. All exercise is physical activity, by definition. I mean, for our purposes, can anyone think of exercise as not physical? I mean, you could think like mental exercises, whatever, but obviously, exercise is physical activity, but the inverse is not true, as I've stated. Not all physical activity is exercise. I just want to like really drive that home. It does not work like that. Conventional lore, that's what that says. It is wrong. So how do you divide up physical activity? How does it kind of break down? How can we How can we section it off to benefit us? I have a pyramid, my version of a pyramid anyways, which the credit of the idea goes to greyhoundfitness.com, Patrick Diver. It's a really simple idea, and it's obviously taken from the food pyramid, which, by the way, the food pyramid from the government sucks. We'll get to it in a minute. But the pyramid of physical activity that I like a lot, my version of it, is with proper exercise as a foundation to all forms of activity above it. So at the bottom of your pyramid of physical activity you should be doing to benefit yourself in whatever endeavors you have, whether it be health, fat loss, recreation, just being active and excelling in a competitive sport or non-competitive sport with your friends, or even specific skill training like competitive sports, like back in high school. I'm sure a lot of you guys played football. I've heard a couple people say anyways. Other sports too, I'm sure. Wrestling, I know Bushido is into that. So proper exercise is at the base. Everything else is above. You can section recreational activity off however you want, specific skill training, which will make more sense in a second. But proper exercise is always going to be the foundation of any other form of activity you do. Okay, and I know we haven't defined proper exercise yet, but let's get to it. What is proper exercise? Proper exercise is brief, intense, and frequent, those three of which align with our ancestors in evolution over the course of 2.5 million years. Brief, intense, and infrequent are how we are made to exercise according to our genome, our DNA, okay? Chronic cardio, as Mark Sisson calls it, is not how we are meant to exercise for positive adaptations. We can do it. The aerobic system is there. We can run marathons. We can run. I saw a guy on Wire, they ran like 350 miles straight or something like that, something ridiculous. I think a couple of you have seen on my blog. People can run, people can do amazing feats through that modality, but that is not how we're meant to exercise for positive benefits to occur. The fourth, man, my brain's like dying up here, sorry guys. The fourth piece of proper exercise has got to be safe. So you have brief, intense, and frequent, and safe is the fourth one that we can provide with modern technology, rational thinking, and logic. We can improve upon exercise habits of our ancestors that kept them lean and fit, of which most of our country right now, unfortunately, is not, and a lot of the world for that matter. So also, to go with safe, the pursuit of fitness, it means that pursuing enhanced fitness does not undermine your health. That's the point of exercising safely. If you just do the top three, you'll get in shape, more than likely. But if you break your leg sprinting or roll an ankle, do something, you're undermining your health in the pursuit of fitness, of which sprints can be very beneficial for exercise purposes. But again, if you trip and bust your ass, it's not worth it. You're just undermining yourself in the process. Continuing on, real quick, a quick topic I want to touch on. If you guys have questions too, feel free to interrupt throughout or save them for the end. It's up to you. But functional training is a really big notion I've seen a lot from the CrossFit crowd or the people that are really focused on the first three keys of proper exercise, brief, intense, and frequent. They get really focused, almost, I want to say tunnel vision, that's kind of a strong word to use, but they get tunnel vision focusing on what our ancestors did in terms of exercise. They go brief, intense, and frequent, and then whatever falls in line with that, they forget about safety. And the result is a notion called functional training, which would be stuff like just doing activities in the style our ancestors did, like explosive movements, to tap into fast-twitch muscle fibers, which will make you grow more, like sprints. Or like in another good look at that too is like Rocky IV. You guys ever seen that? Who's seen that? Raise your hand. Anybody? Actually, I love that movie. It's one of my favorite movies. But you see Ivan Drago, actually, the enemy, like the bad guy, the villain in the movie. He's exercising with like more advanced equipment, and Rocky's doing classical stuff like lifting rocks, wheelbarrows, giant logs, running and stuff, like all this cool-looking romantic stuff, right? That he looks like a badass with his beard and everything, kind of like Billy Mays in that movie almost. I never thought of that till just now. But it makes sense on one level, but it just doesn't work that way. You've got to make it safe. You're just going to undermine yourself in the process. Totally not cool if you hurt yourself now or in the long term. So that's for people that understand the first three things about exercise, but forget about the fourth. And in my opinion, safety, if you couldn't tell by now, is equally important or even more than the first three out of those 4 keys. Also, on functional training, it's very hard to develop dysfunctional or infunctional or unfunctional strength. Strength is strength. That's just what it is. You can't the difference is, like I talked about a minute ago, specific skill training. Your body basically adapts for specific movements that you do. You can't build strength and then have it not work for another movement. You can, but your body will adapt. It's more of a neural thing with your brain than actually building muscle. Another thing like that too that it reminds me of is building like lean tissue, like lean muscle or like bulky muscle. That's kind of a common concept you see in bodybuilding, and it doesn't hold up in the face of science. It has no foundation. Muscle is muscle, strength is strength. Those notions in particular have to do with body composition more than anything, not building a specific type of muscle with a specific type of movement. Muscle is muscle, strength is strength. And a final note before I move on, because I'm kind of short on time. When you combine multiple goals, such as specific skill training and proper exercise, you result with this a lot of the time. Explosive movements like power clean, for example, which would be like, I'm not going to do it, whatever. But for example, power clean, or anything else that's really explosive and fast, you're going to decrease and undermine the effectiveness of what you're doing almost every single time, okay? So if you have separate goals, separate the activity. Try not to combine exercise with a specific movement. Separate the two, and you will benefit greatly, okay? For example, I think an example would help a lot here. Sprints, you want to get faster, I keep referring to sprints. A lot of people just do sprints, which will build the muscle effectively. It might not be the safest thing in the world to do, but it will build the muscle. At the same time, it will also get them that specific movement down very fast. They will learn how to run faster as they continue to run. But a better way to build strength and a safer way to do it is with a leg press or a squat, or even maybe a deadlift. Or a leg extension machine, leg curl machine, all these things will build the muscles involved in that movement. So if you take the best option and perform proper exercise, which we will continue to define, you will build more muscle, which will serve you better when you perform that specific skill. So the activity is specific to the result. Proper exercise results in a specific result. Muscular hypertrophy, bigger muscles. Specific skill training like sprinting will result in better efficiency of motion for that movement, sprinting, okay? Or rowing, or whatever you're doing, doesn't matter. It's all one and the same. So be specific. The specifics of proper exercise, in one word, strength training. That really sums up proper exercise in 1 and 2 words, okay? It's always going to be strength training, every single time. It covers all your bases. The cardio that's so commonly referred to, which, by the way, the thing I like about the term cardio, I mean, a lot of things, if you guys have read my blog, which is at thedreamlounge.net, cardio, it kind of says that you can take your heart out of your body and your lungs, and you can kind of throw them on a treadmill and like work them separately, away or separate from your muscles, like disconnect them. It doesn't work like that. Cardio, your heart and your lungs and everything in between is always going to be secondary to benefits and adaptations by your muscles, the skeletal muscle system. So build muscle first, the body will follow, including the heart, lungs, and everything else. Also, to kind of continue on with that, it's always going to be mechanical work and muscular contraction that works your heart and your lungs. Like I said, you can't take your organs out, throw them on a treadmill, hang on life support, and work them out. It doesn't work like that. They're only working because your muscles are working, and there's a better way to do that, as I'm going to get into in a minute, than what most people do at LA Fitness, 24-hour fitness, all these gyms. You walk in the gym, you see everyone doing the same exact thing. Also, a quick note, and I might talk about it later too, cardio makes you hungry, which gives it sort of a little bit of use. If like aerobic activity, steady state activity is what I'm referring to when I talk about cardio. It makes you hungry, so that might help you bulk up a little bit, but again, like you're kind of undermining your health in the process. Anyway, I need to continue on, but if you guys have questions about it, let me know, or Drew Bay will be speaking next. So, and before I move on though, making you hungry though in the process of trying to burn calories, like that's not effective. If you burn 400 calories, get really hungry, get done, and eat 600 calories, what the hell's the point? Like, not cool. And most people don't realize that when they're doing it, unfortunately. Strength training will also cover body composition, losing weight, whatever you're going to do, or add weight on. It is the #1 way to increase your metabolism, building muscle, skyrockets your metabolism way faster than any diet pill you take, freezing cold water you drink, sit in a sauna, whatever you do. Building muscle is the fastest way to lean up. It also has a lot to do with insulin sensitivity and increasing your glycogen stores. It's a little more complex. There's actually a book I'll show you guys later that talks a lot more in depth about that. But think of it this way, the two main benefits for improving your body composition one way or the other from strength training, the results are going to be faster metabolism and increased insulin sensitivity. Actually, I put that on there, duh. There's in a couple of videos, Doug McGuff, author of Body by Science, a couple of videos he talks about, there's a concept of an overflowing sink in regards to obesity. And as I said, insulin sensitivity kind of ties into this overflowing sink, or I'll make it work in a second. Let me think about this. If you think of obesity as an overflowing sink, it's like a faucet that's running, and there's water gushing in and spilling out over everything, okay? If you turn off the faucet by eating correctly, as we'll talk about in a minute, I'll give you guys a brief overview of it, that stops the sink, but the sink is still full. Or actually, this is how insulin sensitivity kind of pans out. So you have a full sink that stopped overflowing because you turned the faucet off by eating right. If you unplug the sink that was overflowing, it's going to drain out, right? That is where weight loss kind of happens. That's where the magic happens. I need to continue, but last thing on this slide, all health and fitness benefits can be had from strength training, everything you've heard, of which there are like tons of. And you can get all those with the least risk involved. That is like mega important, safest way to do things for everyone. Specifics continued, like I said, brief. If you do a lot of volume, like everyone else, conventional wisdom, you're doing way too much stuff, that results in a decreased level of intensity, which is not exclusively, but a major role in building muscle and staying healthy. So keep it brief. Don't do a lot of sets, okay? Don't do a lot of exercises. Don't repeat the same muscle group. Don't work it again and again and again. Do it right, do it light, as an old coach of mine said. So again, intensity, let's continue on with that. Do at least one set to failure when you exercise in a gym through strength training. I actually do, or you can just do one set. I actually do one set 99 out of 100 times with a particular exercise, no matter what it is. Squat, bench, machines, calf raises, forearm work, anything. From my forearms to my legs, whatever it is. I do one set to failure, usually 8 to 12 reps, let's say, about a minute to a minute and a half, okay? It's very important to keep that intensity. Don't confuse intensity with volume. A lot of people want to work harder. They don't work harder. They work a shitload more, and their intensity drops through the floor. I actually fell victim to that in the fall of this year. I was just training I was training 15 hours a week, which is like way, way, way too much. Anyway, continuing on. Infrequent, like we talked about before. I recommend a max, absolute max of 3 times a week, a full body workout. You'd probably most people will benefit more from 2 or even 1. Desan, you have a question? Can we get a mic to him? 1 second. Yeah, I can repeat it then. Define failure. Yeah, I should. Thanks for asking that. Failure to me is, I've been doing this for a long time. I've been training since I was like 14 years old, and the training style I do now for like 7 months. Failure to me is when my muscles cease to work. It's not a level of discomfort anymore. It's like utter failure. If you can get to that, cool. A lot of people can't. It's a level of discomfort, or it's a level of severe discomfort that's really hard for people to achieve. But I think in time, most people can reach true muscle failure. If you can't though, that's okay. Get as close as you can, especially starting off when it's new to you. That kind of feeling and the intense burn from, say, doing like a bicep curl. It hurts really bad. It's safe, but at the same time, because you're actually producing less force as you become weaker, which maybe Drew will hit on. I don't want to continue on with rambling with this stuff. But yeah, try to hit true muscle failure, okay? Don't just crap out and then want to redo it again. Don't redo stuff. 1 set to failure is what I recommend. If you want to do more sets, that's your own thing. As long as you're doing 1 to failure, that's what really counts. So does that answer your question? It's kind of long-winded, but question. You have a question too. Chris, can we get him a mic? I need to turn away from this PowerPoint anyway, so get away from this thing.
Yeah,
Get out of here.
I just worked out with Anthony like a couple days ago. Like,
You did?
describe the feeling that you get like right after you're done with the workout. Like, because I was about to die. Like, I was like laying on the ground.
Oh.
Like,
You're not gonna
okay, I wasn't
die.
about to die, but
You're
I
not
felt,
gonna die if whenever
I was really
I
lightheaded and
promise.
stuff. But like, give him that so like like when you're.
Okay,
done,
what
'cause
he's
that's
talking
what helped
about
me.
is, we'll say your cardio or metabolic conditions, actually a much better way to look at it. When you're new to training, let's say full body in one day very intensely, when you get done, you're not going to die, I promise. Take deep breaths, okay? If you die, come talk to me. Just kidding. So when you get done, especially when you're new, you're going to be really winded. Take your time, drink some water, take a seat. I probably wouldn't lay down, but just take a seat, take deep breaths, and you're going to be okay. You're probably going to be sweating your balls off too. But when you're done, yeah, you're going to feel like, you'll feel like a badass, to be honest. A lot of the time, once you feel like you're not going to die anymore, you're not going to die then. But once you feel like, once you catch your breath, catch your wind, you're going to feel a lot better. And throughout the rest of the day, actually, your aerobic system is going to be cranking, and you're going to feel like sore, but yet kind of energized. If you do it, what I'm talking about, which we'll continue to talk about, and Drew will expand upon, who is a friend and personal trainer, in case you guys don't know him, Drew Bay from bay.com. Yeah, you'll get the hang of it. You'll feel good. And the next day, there's no telling. Soreness to me is like a random effect. So it's hard to say training this way is going to make you sore or not make you sore. It's really random per person when it happens and level it happens. But also, as you continue on with your training, like Dodger or Shooter just talked about, as like I do it now, like I used to feel like he did when I got done, but now no matter how hard I work, I don't feel like he did anymore because my heart and my lungs and everything in between have picked up in tandem with performing the workouts and the skill involved, even with specific movements like I do, okay? So basically when you start out, we'll say this, your cardio sucks. Over time, it picks up, okay? And when you get done, you'll be able to breathe normally and not like, holy crap, or something like that. It depends. The Dodger's kind of a little girl, so whatever. No, he actually did really good. All right, moving on. Like I said, whoa, crap. Twice or even once a week. I've done once a week for like 7 months. Well, I've experimented actually. I've done twice a week. I've done less than once a week. It turns out for me personally, about once a week of what I'm recommending works very, very well for me and probably most of you too. I believe I have about average genetics, maybe a little bit above in some areas and a little bit under in other areas, which I might get more into in a second if we have time, but I got to continue. A lot to talk about. So again, I was talking about full body workouts. Splitting your routine usually results in too much volume. People do it once they get more advanced if they really want to, but even at that point, it's not necessarily the best thing to do. If you keep it full body, you're usually gonna do less. You'll be in the gym, you'll try not to redo exercises, okay? Don't do like a barbell overhead press and then a machine overhead press like this. Doing that twice, it's the same freaking movement, like you're just redoing the thing over and over again. It's like doing more and more sets. It's not necessary for best results. So do more full body and don't split it up and end up doing like 8 sets of like 15 different exercises every day you go in and then repeat with a different part of your body. It's way too much stuff to do. Keep a full body. There are also hormone responses and that are better from doing this kind of workout. If you kind of look at ancient man and, not ancient man, we're the same, but evolution, we usually didn't go in and do like, we didn't go and just like all of a sudden work just our like biceps and then get done like chasing down an animal or something. It was very rare we worked out that way or exercised or performed any kind of activity that way. It was usually all kind of together. And as a result, I believe this is a matter of a little bit of debate. When you work out full body, there's usually a better growth hormone response and testosterone production is a little bit increased, which is definitely cool, as I'm sure most of you guys know. But don't do steroids, they're very bad. My balls are this big. I'm just kidding, guys, I would never do that. So. Messing with you, don't ever do that crap. Very horrible for you. Completely unnecessary too. Final details on exercise, kind of continuing on before I get into the books I'll recommend to you guys for further details. Starting out, on top of the things I've just recommended you guys do, pick a handful of movements that work your entire body. Go back to back as fast as you can without screwing up your form or being so winded you actually perform less intensely on the next exercise, not because of the muscles you're training, but because you're just so out of breath you can't continue on. Shooter actually kind of ran into that problem at the end due to some other logistical things that happened in the gym. We were in like a public gym, not a private facility. So handful of movements that work your entire body. Go back to back, but not so fast that you like screw up. Don't sprint to the next machine or whatever you're doing, a barbell. Don't do that. Walk over fast, catch your breath, get it done. Okay? Don't dick around. Don't talk. Your cell phone shouldn't even be in the gym. If you have an iPod, cool. If not, don't dick with it. Or if you do, don't dick with it. Moving on, equipment. I recommend good machines. There's a lot of things you pick from actually. Bodyweight exercises are cool. Good machines being a certain brands. A lot of brands, if you look at them, they even look cheap. On top of that, they perform even crappier, okay? If you can find Nautilus machines or even Cybex most of the time, or Medex in particular, if you can find those, they're kind of hard to find. You can find Nautilus, Medex, Cybex, Hammer Strength. Those brands are good, more often than not. Other ones, like all kinds of crap, just random names in a gym you can't even identify, stay away from them. You're much better off doing bodyweight exercises or free weights, barbells and dumbbells. I'll get to in a minute, but just so I don't forget, if you do have to pick free weights, I highly recommend a book called Moment Arm Exercise. It's not too easy to find, but if you go to my blog, thedreamlounge.net, and I don't make any money off this, I'm just promoting it because I love the book. The guy's name, the author is Bill DeSimon, he's a great guy. You can zoom off now. But great book, and it will really help you improve the biomechanics behind exercise and the movements involved with free weights. It's critical for free weights. If you have access to good machines, I recommend reading that book after another book I'm going to mention in a second, okay? Because it's kind of confusing, but if you only have free weights, Moment Arm Exercise is really, really good. So, like I was just talking about, books I highly recommend. This one is Body by Science. We zoomed in on that?
Yep.
Awesome. This book is freaking awesome. When I found this book, I actually read it like in 2 sittings in the bookstore before I even bought it. I was just like too lazy to buy it. I was like, I'm gonna read this book because it was so, I just sat like on the ground. Not even like sit at a table, like on the ground. I was like, oh my God, like this book is like, so awesome. Because, as I mentioned real quick, leading up to the finding of that book, conventional wisdom had failed me. As I increased, which is recommended highly by conventional wisdom, as a kind of general way to look at it, doing more and more and more is like a really ingrained concept to do with exercise. And as I did more in the fall, like 10, 15, even more than that sometimes a week of training, my results like diminished, like progressively, bit by bit. I was like, what the F? Are you kidding? I used to run half marathons and stuff every week and like swim for like hours at a time. I was like, this is insane. Like, how can my results go down? And it was just leaving like cracks in my brain, as I call it. And when I read this book, it filled those cracks in, and I was like, I see the light. So it was really good. Highly recommend Body by Science. Author Doug McGuff, big inspiration for the things in this speech. Drew Bay's coming book, when it comes out. His blog is excellent. Whatever's going to be in his book, which will include a lot of things in the blog, but also more things, will be like so badass on its own or as a complement to Body by Science and Moment Arm Exercise. Really good stuff. As I already talked about, Moment Arm Exercise is really good. Read it after Body by Science. Read Body by Science twice before reading this book. If you have access to good machines, as I talked about. If you only can use free weights, read that book alongside Body by Science. I wouldn't say before, but read it as soon as you can, or even directly after it, okay? It's important. Also, go on Google. You can find Nautilus exercise bulletins. They're kind of polarizing to most people finding them generally, but I think after hearing my speech, you guys would really like that stuff. You go to Google or arthurjonesexercise.com. Yeah.
I've got PDF files. I'll give them to you if you want to just put them up on your site. That'll save people from having to look for them.
Yeah, awesome. So I might have things on my blog, thedreamlounge.net, to find the Nautilus exercise bulletins. If not, just search Nautilus exercise bulletins on Google and they'll pull right up. They are pretty long, kind of abrasive, but really strong, well written, and freaking excellent. Okay? Okay, moving on. Not totally, but switching topics to, because I want to cover a lot. Proper nutrition. Like we just talked about proper exercise instead of just generic exercise. Let's get into proper nutrition instead of just typical run-of-the-mill. Speaking of nutrition, is burped. Almost like brainwashed things we've been led to believe about nutrition. Let's dig into it. Before actually getting into it, proper nutrition complements anything you do in your life, but in particular exercise. If you're exercising right, your eating right will help it immensely, okay? That should be obvious, but just in case, I want to say that. It's going to support all physical endeavors, as I've been talking about. Fat loss, muscle gain, rehabilitation from an injury, your overall well-being and your immune system, your daily energy, how well you sleep, everything is involved. Everything's interrelated. Never think that something is like completely and absolutely separate from another concept, especially exercise and nutrition, okay? Two little or big problems with what we eat today, and some of it's actually even recommended or incorrectly labeled. Number one is corn. All right, I gotta say this. Corn is not a freaking vegetable. It's a grain. It's a very weird grain. It doesn't even grow in the wild. It never has. It's actually a mutation of some weird plant that looks nothing like corn in Central America. We found it and been cultivating it for like thousands of years. But it is totally foreign to our diet. And everything inside of it is just like crap. It can't even grow on its own. If we don't cultivate it, it would just die out. There would be no corn on the planet. It is freaking weird. It's not a vegetable. If someone offers you vegetables and there's corn in it, be like, that's grain. It's not a vegetable. And they'll argue with you, like, just wrong. Like, Google it. Go figure it out, okay? It is not a vegetable. I was actually in my nutrition class at UCF in summer A of this past summer in June. And my licensed dietitian and nutrition teacher said that it was a vegetable. And at that point, I just completely shut off. I was like, oh my God, like, that's like, to her, that should have been very well known. Like, corn is not a vegetable. But anyway, corn permeates soy too, which is like a bean, is also a lot like corn, and it's very, very common. Both of these things are nearly in almost every single food you eat throughout the day, unless you're eating like I eat because I'm God, right? No, it is seriously, like, it is in every freaking food. And even eating meats, you'd be like, oh, I'll eat meat? No. 99% of the restaurants you're going to go to or supermarkets, the meat you get is fed corn and soy religiously. Corn and soy, corn and soy. It's just another form at that point. You're still eating corn and soy, corn and soy, corn and soy. Ever heard of people that are corn-fed? We're all corn-fed, if you think about it. And like I said, both of these are completely unnatural to your diet, completely non-necessary to ever eat. I mean, if you want to eat it for like fun or like a birthday or something, like say a cake with like corn in it, which it probably will, believe it or not, like corn oil. Like for example, you think even like a vegetable at the supermarket would not, like say a tomato, which is actually a fruit, that still actually has corn oil on it to protect it and stuff. Corn, seriously, is in everything you eat in soy. You've got to avoid, I recommend as much as possible, these two things in particular. No role at all in proper nutrition. It can, like I said, it can be eaten rarely. For further reading, I don't want to rant on these topics, but if you want to look into further research for these two in particular things, corn and soy, I don't even call them foods or things or substances to me. King Corn is a movie. It's like a documentary that came out on PBS a little while ago. Google it, YouTube it, if you're able to find it, or YouKoo it. It'll be on there. Or read The Omnivore's Dilemma at any major bookstore or library. The Omnivore's Dilemma details it. I just read it a little while ago. It details these two things really, really good. Continuing on. Proper nutrition, to me, is always going to follow, at least at this point in time, from what I've found, no one can really argue with this, is always going to follow, or argue with it well, is always going to follow our ancestors and our evolution, like almost every single time. Like it's really, really rare it won't, okay? So with exercise, though, I talked to you guys about the advancements we've made in safety, for example. With nutrition, there's not as many, I believe. There's a few, but for the most part, exercise, you can model loosely what our ancestors did. Nutrition, exactly, as close as you want, okay? Awesome. And people selling you stuff that's like some new advancement, I shouldn't have to tell you this, but most often or not, most often it's just crap. They're selling you crap, okay? They're selling you corn, called corn. Corn is the new crap. But respect our ancestors and what they ate. Again, our dietary habits evolved over the course of like 2.5 million years, depending on who you ask. 2 million years, 1.5 million years, 2.5 million years. I don't know how they get that broad of a range, to be honest. I guess it's just the way we evolved. But anyway, how are you going to argue with that many millions of years of evolution for how we eat? It's really, really tough. Exercise, we can improve the safety, food, eat like our ancestors, okay? That's like the best advice I can give you. So what does that mean exactly? I'll give you some quick things. Meats, fish, fowl, and eggs. Eggs in particular, I think, are really, really, really good. They're like nature's multivitamin extraordinaire. Like, not even forget vitamins. They just have everything in them you want. Awesome. Whole eggs. But it's important if you can get it. If not, whatever. But if you can find it at Whole Foods, Publix, or like I forget what you call it. But I get my food, and I get food from it now too. It's like a is Chris Frizz in there? Chris Frizz? No. It's like a opt-in, I think they call it, an opt-in like Amish farm. They truck in like all this really high quality food that is grass-fed and actually free range. For example, a chicken, most chickens are fed and chicken eggs that come out have it in them. And the nutrition content reflects that. They're just fed corn and soy like I talked about. Chickens are fed corn and soy. And so are fish. A lot of fish, farm fish, are fed corn and soy. When would fish be eating corn and soy? Can anyone tell me? In like evolution? Never. They would never eat that, ever. It's ridiculous, but that's what they're fed. And ultimately, that's what you eat. You are what you eat. So if you can, get products from animals that are grass-fed and free range, okay? It has a lot to do with the fatty content and everything else in the food too. So if you can, awesome. If not, whatever. But meats, fish, fowl, eggs, nuts and seeds. Not all of them, but I'm not going to get into details, but some of my favorites that are really good. Almonds, walnuts, pecans, coconut is actually a seed, not a nut, believe it or not. Brazil nuts are okay. Pumpkin seeds, flaxseed if it's ground up or you chew it really, really well. Things like that, awesome. Vegetables, I should have said non-starchy vegetables. Try to stay away from potatoes. They're technically a vegetable, but you don't really want them. We'll get into that more in a second. But vegetables, anything you want, broccoli especially is awesome. Carrots, whatever. Carrots actually have some starch, but whatever. Good stuff. Just stay away from potatoes and you'll be good with the veggies. Fruits, it's hard to list out which fruits are good, which fruits are not, but from my experience, what I've read, fruits are awesome, especially berries. Blueberries, raspberries, cranberries, whatever, strawberries. Actually, avocados are actually a large berry. They're very good for you too. Okay? Stay away from grains, corn, and everything else. White bread, all that crap. If you can, just avoid that like the plague. Okay? You can eat it every once in a while, but if you can just stay away from grain and beans too, your health will like freaking skyrocket. Okay? No joke. Actually, with me, I noticed in my life I would always try to get rid of acne, and I'm not complete. My face isn't perfect right now, but I tried a lot of different things and a lot of like natural things too. And the two things that help me the most with acne are drinking just water or almost just water and nothing else, and drinking lots of it. And I stopped eating grains. When I stopped eating grains in like September, almost a year ago of 2008, my acne went from like, not too bad at all to like non-existent almost. It's pretty rare I get a zit at all now. I have like one right now, I think, on like my nose, but it just abruptly like stopped. And also mucus in my throat. So I used to wake up every morning. I guess I'm like allergic to a lot of different grains, and I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of you guys are too. I used to wake up every morning and hawk out loogies like for like 15 minutes, like more than most smokers. I would go to my friend's house, I'd wake up and they thought I was like puking, because I would just sit there hawking up phlegm forever and ever. When I stopped eating grains and beans, this abruptly stopped. No joke. Stay away from weird substances. I can't even talk. Any kind of vegetable oil freaking sucks. They're all corn oil and soy oil. More corn and more soy. Don't want it. That said, olive oil is awesome for you. Extra virgin olive oil. It's great. Olives are fruits, so it's a fruit oil. So most people don't know that. They think it's a vegetable, but it's not. Olives are fruits. Olive oil is great. Anything that's labeled vegetable oil just sucks. And that's what you get more often than not at restaurants. Even if they say it's olive oil. When they say it's olive oil, a lot of times, like say Designer Greens, it's a restaurant near UCF, it's not olive oil. It's a mixture of soybean oil and olive oil. It makes it into diluted because it's cheaper, which sucks. You don't want that. Again, stay away from soy. Most dairy and alcohol, obviously. I know a lot of people, people drink, whatever. Avoid it as much as you can. And beer in particular, I think is pretty bad. It can raise estrogen levels, which is, estrogen is like the female hormone, and that actually is the equivalent of decreasing testosterone. That's why you see guys get beer guts and things like that. It's specific because of the estrogen, which sucks. 1 to 10, 15? Cool. It's actually really good, sweet. Dairy, try to avoid that too. The things about dairy though, there's actually a guy, Mark Sisson, I like a lot, who's a blogger I'll talk about more in a second. Dairy's not completely bad from everyone. I used to be really against it. I still think typical dairy just sucks. You want to avoid it as much as you can. 2 things though that you can eat are grass-fed milk fat like butter. The fatty content in it is a lot better, a lot higher in omega-3s. It's not too bad. So you can eat that if it's grass-fed in particular. If it's not grass-fed, there's no reason to eat it for the purpose of proper nutrition. And grass-fed whey, it's okay. It's a great protein source. If your body doesn't react to it negatively, cool. Casein and lactose, the sugar in milk, are what really is hurting you when you drink milk, okay? And all the corn and soy in it too, which sucks. Like I keep talking about, Primal Blueprint is written from a guy named Mark Sisson. I've been talking about the author anyway. Mark Sisson wrote The Primal Blueprint. It's a great book on nutrition. I don't have it with me, but I've read his blog extensively. He's a great guy. His views on nutrition are almost exactly the same as my own. His blog is like marksdailyapple.com, I want to say. Really good stuff, and his book is really comprehensive for a way to eat. Awesome. Exercise stuff in it, I would tend to go with what is embodied by science by leaps and bounds. But nutrition in the book called Primal Blueprint, awesome. More specifically speaking, there's a book by a guy named Johnny Bowden, I think is how you say it. It's called The 150 Healthiest Foods on Earth. It's a great book. It's in major bookstores right now. Primal Blueprint you can get on Amazon, probably bookstores soon, I'm not sure. But again, 2 books for nutrition, like those 2 are for exercise. You want to get Primal Blueprint, and the 150 Healthiest Foods on Earth. I'm going to get into some macronutrients real quick and try to finish this up, and then we'll take questions. Protein is a macronutrient, one of the 3 major ones: protein, carbohydrate, and fat. Conventional wisdom, again, is kind of tunnel vision when it comes to protein. Protein is awesome. It's essential for your body. You absolutely need protein. Essential amino acids, you guys heard of that? Who's heard of that? Yeah, whatever. All right, awesome. It's true. Protein's great. The thing is, though, I think it's overrated. People, especially when they get into building muscle and working out, bodybuilding, whatever you want to call it, they tend to obsess over eating protein. This is pretty well known. All these the muscle heads and all the protein shakes, like that YouTube video with that guy. Who's seen that, by the way? The Jaeger bombs and all that. That video is hilarious. Mom, where's my protein? But it's true. People obsess over this. And I think there are other things that are almost equally as important, other substances to be eating. Red meat from grass-fed steers, for example, is really good stuff, or buffalo even, bison, whatever you want to call it. There's creatine in that. That's important to eat. Eggs, whole eggs have all kinds of fatty acids. I think it's called anacrylic acid, I want to say. Anachronic or anacrylic, I never get it right. Important for building muscle, along with everything else in an egg, which is very, very good for you. Selenium, it's also in eggs. It's also in Brazil nuts, pretty concentrated. That's important for recovery and building muscle. Like I mentioned earlier, to help lower estrogen levels, which is kind of the equivalent of raising testosterone, broccoli and almonds, eat all that you want. It will lower estrogen. These things are important, but they're kind of neglected and shunned in the face of protein. Everybody's just like, eat protein, eat muscle milk, eat this, eat that, like anything with protein in it. Eat, 200, 300 grams a day of this stuff. That's not cool. You're replacing other nutrients you could use and need for building muscle and health with protein too much. And a lot of it too is very well known to stress your other organs, especially the liver. And really the benefit with an excessive amount of protein in your diet, it's not really there. It's very little. And when you eat a ton of it, it's just turned to sugar. Like, you don't need it. Anyway, let's move on to fat. Does fat make us fat? The logic of looking at that sentence is like, yeah, fat makes you fat. Why wouldn't fat make you fat? Fat makes you fat. It's kind of the play on words is very deceiving. I'll tell you right now, since October of 2008, Up to this point, I've eaten more fat than anyone else in this room by leaps and bounds. I've eaten an absolute ton of it, all kinds of it too. Monounsaturated, saturated, polyunsaturated, everything except trans fat, which I should have mentioned earlier. I'll get into it in a minute. But I've eaten a ton of fat. A lot of people say to that, well, you have good genetics for being lean. I'm at about 10% body fat, which is pretty lean around that area. I grew up pretty chubby. When I graduated high school, I weighed 198 pounds. 198, and when I got into my senior year of high school, I weighed 198 3/4 pounds, almost 200 pounds. Right now, I weigh 176, 177 pounds. And then I was eating not a lot of fat, and now I eat a ton of fat. That alone should be very interesting to you guys. And going even further, I grew up overweight. I got it. Growing up overweight, on top of that, my immediate family, no one is lean. My extended family, no one is lean. I'm the leanest person I've seen out of the dozens of people I just saw at a wedding, like by a long shot. Everyone else is overweight. My genetics are not superior for being lean. Yet I eat more fat than every single one of those people, okay? That alone is an important concept. When we'll get to why in a second. Fat is actually important for fat loss, in my opinion, and the opinion of many others. In Body by Science, the book I'll show you guys again that I mentioned, they talk about how fatty acids relate to health and weight loss very, very well. And medical doctor Doug McGuff talks about it like really, really good, way better than I could ever butcher it up here. So when you read Body by Science, which I strongly recommend, read over that part like 2 or 3 times. Fat also needs to take up the bulk of your calories. When you do with carbohydrate, there are a lot of problems. Protein, obviously, as we talked about too, you can't do it. So out of the 3, you need fat to take up your calories that you need every day that you expend a ton of. Even if you just sit down and stare at a wall all day, you need fat in your diet. Also, the only bad fat inherently is trans fat. It's completely unnatural to a diet. I mentioned it a minute ago too. Trans fat is any fat that's oxidized and or really, really overcooked, okay? Or even lightly overcooked in some cases. Things that oxidize easily are soybean oil and corn oil. What a freaking surprise. Olive oil is not too bad. The best oils to use for cooking purposes are coconut and red palm kernel. Another one too is grass-fed butter is pretty good to cook with. The other fats, corn and soy oil, for example, they overcook at a low temperature when you're frying them, like massively. Coconut and red palm kernel oil, for example, don't do that. They have a much, much higher smoking point, which is important for any kind of cooking, frying or whatever you do. I am thirsty as a beast. So again, the only bad fat is trans fat. That's becoming conventional wisdom now, which is awesome. Like I said, conventional wisdom isn't always bad, just more often than not, okay? So they're coming around with that. Awesome. Power to the people doing that. On a carbohydrate. I didn't put this in the PowerPoint, but it's important to understand. Like I mentioned a minute ago, there are essential amino acids. Protein is essential to your body. You could not live without it. You would die. The same goes for fat. Carbohydrate, technically, you could live without. There is no such thing as an essential carbohydrate. It does not exist in nature. You do not absolutely need it through a diet, dietary sources. You can live without it. Your body uses other compounds, protein a lot actually, to create glycogen in your body, or things like it, ketone bodies and such. Anyway, there's no contest about it and no debate really. Carbohydrate was the rarest macronutrient for 2.5 million years of our evolution as a species. If you were born 100,000 years ago, 500,000 years ago, or a million years ago, you'd be in the same body you are now, and you know what? If you went out and tried to eat something for a week, the least common macronutrient you would find every single time, without question, is carbohydrate. The opposite is true now, though. When you guys go to a restaurant, or go home and eat something, or have a home-cooked meal, or whatever from Publix, or Walmart, or whatever, almost, not every time, but a lot of the time, all we eat is like refined carbohydrates, pastas, grains, beans, and so on. It's a ton of carbohydrate and sugar and sweets and everything, high fructose corn syrup, all this stuff. We're eating a ton of carbohydrate all of a sudden. For millions of years, we ate nothing but fat and protein. Not completely, but almost. That's the majority of what we ate. All of a sudden now, carbohydrate out of the ass. There's a ton of it. It signals fat storage. It was so rare back then that when we ate a lot of it, or we found some of it, our bodies would store fat. It would do this through spikes in insulin. Because the blood sugar goes up, insulin's a hormone secreted by your body to bring that blood sugar level back down from the carbohydrates, okay? Insulin is a fat-storing Trump hormone. I'm not gonna say it's exclusively the reason we're overweight, spiking it too much, but it's a major one. Insulin, you do not want to spike it by eating carbohydrates or lots of them, or especially ones high in the glycemic index. So like the straight sugar is really high. 5, I got it. Cool. Moving on, though, I just want to advocate that carbs are not evil. You hear a lot of this like low carb stuff, and it's like Atkins and like all this crap. Carbs are not the enemy. They're a macronutrient. You know, they're not necessary, but I recommend you eat them from good sources. Non-starchy vegetables, raw honey even, which is like regular honey, except it's not cooked a lot. It's not gross or anything, I promise. You can actually find it at Walmart sometimes now. It's pretty common. Nuts, anything with fiber in it, like nuts, seeds. Those carbs are cool. When you eat refined carbohydrate, and especially that from like corn and soy that we find so commonly, total crap. Okay? And dairy too, like milkshakes and all this stuff. It's got sugar in it already, and they pump it with sugar too. Just sucks. Some silly stuff I want to list off before I get to questions, which I'll kind of go over my time limit a little bit with. Spot reduction in terms of exercise is absolutely impossible. Your body does not work that way. If anyone ever tells you that or advocates it, they have no idea what they're talking about. Spot reduction does not freaking work. As I talked about earlier, lean and bulky muscle are concepts that are like non-existent. Muscle is muscle. Lean and bulky is a result of body composition, not the way you built your muscle, okay? You can't build bulky muscle. Sounds like a Rocky Bullwinkle all of a sudden. Anyway, you can't build lean muscle by doing a lot of reps, for example, like will advocate, or building bulky muscle by doing low reps. It doesn't work that way. Build muscle the most effective way possible, which is body by science, my opinion, and you will do yourself a great favor. Try not to do one or the other. It doesn't work that way. You can go for that goal, but just understand that muscle is muscle, okay? Very important. There's no magic pill that's ever going to be created to save us from a poor diet. If the way you eat sucks, you can't take some concoction of pills to fix your diet. It does not work that way. Totally impossible. You can't do it. It's never coming around. Hate to break your heart, be the messenger of bad news, but it's not coming. Don't ever hope for that. Strength training not being for women. This is like, to me, totally silly and ridiculous. We are all human beings. Our bodies work almost the exact same way, regardless of gender. Strength training in particular for women is really, really important because naturally they have less muscle than us, like 9 out of 10 times. There's an article on bodybyscience.net, the homepage of that book, that talks specifically why women need strength training, okay? And there's only one of you in the room right now. There is one. Yeah, there's one girl. But strength training is proper exercise that applies for everyone involved. Not just guys, not just girls, everyone, okay? In particular, I say that because it's so often, at least in college, I see girls that are like, as I recently saw them called on the internet, like a blog, cardio bunnies. Girls that go to the gym, they do nothing but hop on an elliptical or a Stairmaster or a treadmill, and that's it. They shy away from the stigma of strength training that'll get them bulky or some weird crap like that, which is completely impossible. They don't have the ability to do that. Most girls you ever meet in your life will never get as big as you are, even if you're a scrawny little bastard, okay? I guarantee you they do not have the ability. And if you are that person, know that you do have a pretty good genetic potential. Regardless of how crap you're looking right now, you can build it, okay? It is possible. Maybe not to some ridiculous level, but you can add a lot of muscle. As I mentioned earlier, intentionally burning calories through exercise, totally not cool, and that's what's promoted by cardio. In short, the machines, as said in Body by Science, kind of lie to you. Like when you go to a gym, hop on an elliptical, ask you for your weight. It's asking for your weight to calculate your resting metabolic rate, or how many calories you're going to burn if you just stood there and watched the guy on an elliptical, okay? So if you enter your weight and it tells you you burned 200 calories, 100 or more of those calories in, say, 30 minutes would have been burned already just looking at the guy on an elliptical, okay? Burning calories through exercise, it's just not that many. We're not built that inefficiently so as we would just burn off our fat stores like really, really quick, okay? Also, people that really get into burning calories like I used to be into, even if you burn 1,000, and that's a shitload. Like, let me tell you right now, if you burn 1,000 calories through exercise, like that is an incredible amount. Each pound of body fat stores over about 3,500 calories. That's enough for most people in this room to run a marathon and then some on that 1 pound of fat. Think about that next time, hopefully not you, but somebody you know goes and runs 5 miles. They're not even gonna burn close to a pound of body fat off, and they do that all week long. The repetitive stress in your body just heavily outweighs the calories burned. A much better way to burn calories is, if you want to stick with that concept, is to build muscle, okay? Eat a little bit less. Control how much you input instead of output. Much, much safer. Also, steady state aerobic activity and cardio, as I call it, or everyone else calls it too, it destroys muscle if you do too much of it or even a little bit of it. You're basically tearing muscle because exercise is damaging and you're not stimulating it to grow. This slows your metabolism down over time. Really bad idea. And the real cause of obesity is not being sedentary. I'm not recommending you guys like never go for a run again in your life, or next time you go to the beach, your friends play football, you just sit there because like you're afraid to run or something like that. That'd be just weird. But being sedentary, to me, is not the real cause of obesity, the obesity epidemic. It's eating too much, way too many starchy foods, way too much carbohydrate, and people doing now tons of very ineffective or counterproductive exercise or activities they want to call exercise. Like, take this away. If you could take one thing away from this speech, it's that cardio is going to actually not help you at all. I got it, man. It's not going to help you very much or at all for losing weight or toning up. It's very important. Finally, cholesterol. I'm not going to get into this. I'm running out of time. I want to take questions, actually. Cholesterol is not inherently bad for you. To think that it's going to clog your arteries by eating it from an egg or some other meat, it's going to go straight to your heart, kill you, it doesn't work like that. I'll tell you that right now. Your body does not take in foods and do that to you, okay? What actually does cause rises in cholesterol and decreased heart health are trans fat and inflammation from spiked insulin, refined carbohydrates. If you can avoid trans fat the rest of your life and spiking your insulin levels too much, your heart will be awesome. Okay? Cholesterol is not the enemy. Neither is its evil twin brother, saturated fat. These things are both in our diet for millions of years, and your body understands them very well. And your body actually makes a ton of cholesterol every day, and when you eat some, it actually decreases the amount, it compensates. Real quick, kind of quick pitch before I take questions. I run a blog, thedreamlounge.net. I'm sure most of you guys know about it by now. I'm also writing a book, my second book ever, called Dream Vitality. It will expand upon all these concepts and the way I see them, as I just told you about, much better than I did here in a short amount of time. I did my best, but in a book, I'll have a lot of time to sit down and work out the concepts I've told you about in a way that you guys will really understand very well. At least I hope so. And that was my speech. I want to take questions, so don't clap yet, because I know you're gonna, right? Questions, and then I got to end my speech for other speakers of the day. What you got?
I'll try to make this quick. I'm really nervous, but I got to tell you, that was incredible. I've never seen anything like that. And
I was really beating myself up during it too, but thanks.
I'm going to say I'm not going to be afraid to do this, but you deserve a standing O.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Damn. Awesome. Damn. Thanks, man. I appreciate that a ton. That means a lot to me. Cool. What you got?
Yeah, I just have a question about full body workouts.
Go for it.
I understand the benefits, but what I don't understand is like if you're doing that as opposed to like split training,
yeah,
and you're just doing like one set per muscle group.
Yeah.
For example, like if you're doing overhead press for shoulders,
yeah,
then how would you significantly hit the rear shoulder muscle?
I mean your back, your rhomboids, and your traps, your lats, and all that.
Yeah.
Like the thing about full body, like I said, if you could just take this, and maybe Drew can get into this more, this question, he'd answer this question real well. It's that if you split your routine up and you're doing one set to failure, what are you going to do? Go to the gym 4 or 5 times a week, do one exercise and leave? That to me is like just really ineffective with your time. Excuse me, gross. But like I said, if you go in the gym, let's say a typical workout for, I know a lot of people that split their workouts, is like shoulders and biceps or something like that. If you're working out how I recommend, or Doug McGuff of Body by Science, a medical doctor recommend, You would go in, do one set to failure of an exercise like an overhead press with your shoulders, and then you do like a bicep curl, and that's it. You'd be done. That just seems really ineffective, just walking. Think about how many times you get walking out of the gym to work out your entire body throughout the week. And like I said, our ancestors worked out. They never worked out just their biceps. They would never just go out, like, do some activity like this and then get done. They would use everything. Not that you have to do that all at the same time through some functional movement, but it's just your body responds better hormonally when you do everything on the same day. And then you allow a lot of rest, not a lot, but a proper amount of rest in between your next full body workout, rather than trying to juggle and on your own with your own insights, which are often kind of sort of short-sighted for yourself because you get too cocky with things. At least I do. If you try to juggle like recovery work for your muscles, you're just going to screw up. If you do full body, you do it one day, wait, do it again, wait, do it again. Keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate things. Does that answer your question? That was like a lot of stuff. Next, where's Pete Murphy at? Let me keep the mic moving around. What's up?
Hey, let's just say you can't get to a gym. What do you think are the best forms of exercise, like at your house or something like that?
Drew Bay can answer that question. Money. He has a whole post on that. When he speaks, remember to ask him that, and he can hook it up. Okay, I'm trying to end my speech quick. Okay, cool. He can nail that, I assume. Yeah. What you got?
Yeah, I noticed you spoke a little bit about the differences between men and women, and Bush should be doing exercise. But a lot of that stuff about increasing estrogen and testosterone and all
Hormone
that
levels.
stuff.
Yeah.
What do you think the differences should be between a male diet and a female diet?
There are some. I think Mark Sisson's written a little bit about it. If anything, I think. Well, in reality, for millions of years, you probably wouldn't, the men and women, gender-wise, wouldn't be eating too differently from each other. So I don't think there are a whole lot of differences. I mean, there can be for certain circumstances, like pregnancy and such, or even maybe like menopause, things like that. If anything, though, just understand that like it's important for both of you, not for men and women, to not eat foods that raise estrogen levels. That's just unnatural for everyone. Women actually are more dominant with progesterone, I believe it's called, not estrogen. So if they eat a lot of grain-fed foods, she talked about this with Oprah a while back. Grain-fed foods and soy and beer and things like that, which college girls I've seen out a million nights in a row, they down all these things and they just raise estrogen levels through the roof. And that's the equivalent of decreasing testosterone, of which men and women both have quite a bit. Mike. Yeah. Sweet.
And part of the reason that a lot of girls are developing younger is because of that effect of the grains on estrogen levels. Yeah. And with testosterone, testosterone affects libido in women.
Yeah.
You don't want your girl eating a diet that's going to reduce.
We don't want that, especially in this event.
So obviously you don't want them to have as much testosterone as men, but
yeah.
They need to have a certain amount. Their testosterone starts dropping, and their libido is going to drop, which is also a benefit of exercise to women. If a woman exercises regularly, she's not just going to have a better figure, but she's going to have a higher sex drive because it's going to keep the testosterone within what's a good range for a woman to have.
Exactly. It's all about balancing homeostasis and keeping it all the way it was meant to be if you were born a long time ago. Okay? One more question, and then we'll get Drew up here, and he can answer just about anything I can, obviously. He's a lot more experienced, and then I can also hop back up if need be. Okay?
All right, you were saying about how soy is really bad, and I've researched them myself, and this kind of a question and statement type thing.
Yeah, go.
Doesn't soy also have a lot of zytoestrogens, which are very bad for male testosterone levels to begin with?
I've heard. I haven't looked into hormone levels too much. I have heard what you're talking about. I want to say you're right, but I'm not going to go ahead and verify that. I'm not well versed in everything in the world, but there are multiple versions of estrogen, testosterone too, and everything. So it's complex, but you're probably right. If it doesn't belong in your diet and you eat it, and you're a man or a woman, there's no telling what kind of effect it's going to have on your body. Corn and soy in particular, there's no telling what kind of effects they're going to have. It's all interrelated. It's not separate, and everything's connected. You can't disconnect things like that. Okay? I got to get off, guys, but thank you for your time. Drew Bay will tear it up, and I'll help him if he needs it. Woo.